The star of Moana 2 is on the press run for the movie right now. It's tracking to be a huge success for Disney, but she's doing everything she can to sabotage it right now, and is shaping up to be something of a Rachel Zegler 2.0, as far as I can tell. She went on The View, and she really stressed the point that Moana is a great role model for all of the young girls and boys who are going to watch this movie, because she doesn't need a love interest to complete her story, and she gets to be the hero of her own story, which that kind of story would be completely fine by me if you didn't need to emphasize it and go out of your way to praise that, as if a character, especially a Disney princess, having a love interest is a bad thing for some reason. Rachel Zegler was stressing the exact same point.
Something that I always think about when this particular argument comes up is that it's very anti-human. There's a reason why the traditional story of the male hero often comes back to a man saving the day, and oftentimes saving a damsel in distress, because it's very pro-human. It's very pro-human interaction, and it understands the way men and women interact together in a situation like that, meaning that a woman would never dream of turning down the opportunity to be saved by a dashing and handsome gentleman, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But for some reason, whether it's because of fourth wave feminism or because it goes against nature, sorry if that hurts your feelings, for a man to want to be saved by a woman, at least especially maybe in the real world, a dude wouldn't care about it, but if his life was actually in danger. But if you make a guy sit down and watch a movie in which a woman saves his life, it doesn't appeal to the male demographic of viewers, because the man wants to be the one who does the saving. The woman wants to experience the chance to be saved. That's the fantasy of it. So the storytelling is anti-human to begin with, in a way, or at least anti-human experience.
Anti-human connection.
Yes, exactly.
It's anti-romance, all of those things.
So they have to push it because it doesn't actually have a leg to stand on in the real world.
So I guess that's one of the main selling points that they're using for Moana's continued story. And this is, just to be clear, the voice actress. The live action actress has already been announced, and she's younger, but this is the voice actress for the first and second movie, and she's executive producing the live action version. Her name is Auli Cravalho, and in her interview with The View, she talked about her career and how, as a queer actress, she battles anti-Semitism, fascism, and misogyny.
Does she actually mention how she fights back against political authoritarianism?
Well, it's funny because they always they go with these leading questions that are like, why do you think these themes are so important to our culture today? And they get her to give the softball answer as it relates to social justice somehow. But in the previous segment on the same episode of The View, the hosts were talking about Trump's America. And they said, Sonny Hostin said, I know that as a country, it's very difficult for people to believe that racism and misogyny are alive and well. We don't want to think that about ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, but it's my lived experience that tells me it does still exist. If you think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny, you're missing it, said another panelist, Alyssa Griffin. But then after this segment, the Moana actress chimed in to their conversation and said, I heard your segment before this, and I feel like it's a really important thing to talk about. She is referencing her role in the Broadway cabaret show, that how it touches on anti-Semitism, fascism, and misogyny. I think what's really important is that theater rips us open and reveals a mirror, and I'm grateful to be in a show that does that.
There's a 20 there from Ruben the Imitator.
I like girls showing up to that Jeremy Allen White lookalike contest to seek romantic partners, because a lot of women nowadays are going exclusively for elite men, so usually men don't have many choices.
Oh, I don't know if that is actually necessarily true, or if that's like an online take. But either way,
I'm sure any of them would jump at the chance to date Jeremy Allen White. But if you need to find the next best thing, there is a lookalike contest. So that's fine. But yeah, this is what she is emphasizing about herself, her identity as an indigenous Hawaiian and the fact that she is queer or bisexual, as they put it in quotes here. So that's her entire identity. And she's known for being incredibly political. She also played the race-swapped version of Janice Ian in the Mean Girls reboot, which I hate.
Yep.
So this says, bisexual actress and singer Ali Carvalho showed support for the missing and murdered Indigenous women crisis on a red carpet. This was last year in March. She showed up on the red carpet with a blood stain on her face in the shape of a handprint.
You know whose fault this is? This is all Michael Jackson's fault for We Are the World. No, I'm just kidding.
You think?
But
I mean, that was the beginning of it, really.
I mean, virtue signaling has gone on forever, right? But what once was something that the public could get behind because everybody was kind of still under the spell of Hollywood back then, right? You could fool yourself into believing that the celebrities had great intentions. Nobody buys that anymore.
Right. Well, she's also a Gen Z actress, and that means she is incredibly keen on the idea of not just being an artist, but also a mouthpiece for social justice issues, and she has a reputation for that. But in a recent interview, she actually said she has Mickey Mouse breathing down her neck, so she can't get into public arguments with people like she wishes she could.
They hate the fact that they're entrusted with the financial success of billion-dollar properties, and instead of making themselves a ton of money, which they could then go invest in whatever cause they want to after the fact, they want to skip that step and cost their boss millions upon millions upon millions of dollars so that they can make the exact same quote online that the next actress to her left and her right made, and only to be forgotten 6.5 minutes later because it's an impulse. It's something they can't control. It's tied directly to the dopamine receptors in your brain and how good you feel after making your shock claims of virtue.
Well,
it's really just Western guilt in a lot of ways, repackaged.
Well, it's something she's trying to weaponize against other people, actually. Let's take a look at that interview, though, and hear in her own words why she's being oppressed by Disney.
Here we go.
What is something you're currently obsessed with on the internet?
Something that I'm currently obsessed with on the internet is calling people out for their shit.
Oh, is this something you learned from Renee Rapp on the Mean Girls press tour?
Listen, Renee Rapp says things that I cannot, okay? I feel Mickey Mouse breathing down my neck right now, and if I could be so lucky. But I might be learning a thing or two from her. Love that.
Okay.
She has Mickey Mouse breathing down her neck. It's kind of just the same at the end of the day if you say, my bosses at Disney are silencing me from calling people out on their shit, than if you just called them out on their shit.
Yeah.
You're making yourself and your bosses look terrible either way. So you might as well just have the outbursts on social media that you clearly want to have.
The amount of self-righteousness in that statement was palpable. It was palpable. And the worst part about this is really it's like the statement, better to live under robber barons, because there is nobody more annoying and nobody worse than somebody who treats you horribly and wants to dictate the way your life is lived for your own good, which is ostensibly what these celebrities believe. They believe that they are part of an anointed class that know better than you, that are better than the people that spend money on their products. They have a certain level of dislike, of hatred for their own audience. They see them as less than, more often than not. And somebody like this, you know, who was raised in the Hollywood machine, they can't be reasoned with, they can't be bargained with, and they will never stop. Never until you're dead.
I think it's just the smugness for me.
Yes.
Like, she seemed incredibly
Smugness is next to snark in the most annoying traits anyone can have.
And you have to wonder, if this is what you act like publicly while you're on a leash with the biggest entertainment corporation in the world, how would you be acting if those considerations weren't at play?
Yep.
You're just the most insufferable person in the world. I mean, actually, no. Rachel Zegler does take that title.
Yes.
And she should be grateful that someone like Rachel Zegler exists, who is just taking all of the heat right now. She's the worst example of it at Disney, at least.
Snark and smugness are the worst traits, in my personal opinion. It's the number one thing to get me to turn a movie off.
She should just become best friends with Rachel Zegler so she can always look sane in comparison.
There's a 20.
Brian Bledsoe said, good Wednesday morning from Osaka. PCC has become my early morning show while I'm visiting Japan for the next week. That sounds awesome.
Safe travels, man.
I'm jealous. Thank you for watching.
I can't. I just can't. It's it's one of those things I wish I could actually put into words more succinctly, but I can't. It's maybe, you know what it is? This is the male version of getting the ick.
You finally found it. We thought it was a myth.
Snark is the ick for men.
We have another 20 from Alejandro Reyes. Now, to be fair to the Hollywood crazies, I work retail by night, and I definitely understand why they feel superior to the masses. Well,
no.
That's not exactly the same.
Here's the thing. Even if that's true, hide it.
Yeah.
Hide it, because it means you're bad at business if you can't hide it. Do your job, you moron. Stop doing this if you want to actually make studios money. Supposedly, that's what you guys want, right? What did Walt Disney say? We don't make movies to make money. We make money so we can make more movies. If you can't make the money, you can't make more movies.
I mean, even people who work for an hourly wage in retail or hospitality understand the principle that the customer is always right, and that you say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And you say sorry even when you're not in the wrong, and things like that.
And then you complain about it later. When they're gone, you then complain about it later.
Decorum.
I think that quote is actually, like, in matters of taste, the customer is always right. It's like a misquote over years and years of games.
I didn't know that.
There's a 20 there from Gordon Shumway.
It started with Marlon Brando having Sacheen Littlefeather accept his Oscar in '73. She came out and did virtue signaling for indigenous rights. She wasn't even Native American. She just dressed up as one.
I remember,
imagine that.
There was a bunch of stuff that came out about that just this past year. I think she passed away. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I do remember that. They love to virtue signal. It's kind of the same thing when the customer complains to an employee. Right? And a customer says, like, I'm never coming back here again. Well, 99, employee working at minimum wage doesn't care if you never come back here again. This is just a job to them. But these actors, right? They're not just an hourly employee, or they shouldn't be considered just an hourly employee. They should be treated the same way that the spokesperson for a company should be. The lady from Sprint or Flo from the insurance from Progressive, right? They should be held to a different standard than some employee who's just paid to, like, I'm not going to really care if the dude who runs customer service for Disney Plus yaps on endlessly about social justice. I don't care. They're doing their job, whatever. But I do expect the people that are supposed to be the caretakers to these gazillion-dollar IPs understand that those things mean more than just them and their current wants.
I mean, despite all of this, I do believe that Moana 2 is going to be a success for Disney.
Yes, it will. It will. It's projected
almost
at over 100 million.
Guaranteed. Especially with the timing of it coming out over Thanksgiving. It's going to be a big weekend for them. Yep. But she's not helping the situation.
No, she's not. And look, and more than that, it's the stupidity of believing that you, a pampered Western woman who has grown up in the Hollywood bubble, living in America, from Hawaii, right? That you are fighting fascism, just like people in pink hats are fighting fascism. None of you are fighting fascism. Stop being so grandiose and self-important.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.